The Gorbals Vampire Scare. In 1954 Glasgow, Scotland was swept with panic and fear as the myth of the Gorbals Vampire began circulating among the city's youth. The myth, which was based on the true story of a mysterious figure lurking in the Southern Necropolis, quickly spread and created a wave of hysteria throughout the city. In this video, we will discuss the origins and spread of the Gorbals Vampire Scare. We will also look at the role of comic books and their influence on the myth, as well as the lasting effects this scare had on Glasgow. The Southern Necropolis is an old cemetery located in the Gorbals area of Glasgow, and it has been a part of the city since 1871. It contains upwards of 35,000 grave sites across its 43 acres, and is known to have some very impressive monuments. In recent years, however, it had become more well known for something else entirely: reports by local youths that they had seen a mysterious figure lurking around the grounds at night. This led to speculation that there was actually a vampire living in the cemetery, hence why it came to be called the Gorbals Vampire Scare. It was here that sightings of a mysterious figure began to be reported by local youths, leading to speculation that a vampire was living in the cemetery. According to the legend, a vampire was said to be preying on the children of the Gorbals neighborhood of Glasgow. The legend was fueled by reports of strange noises, unexplained occurrences, and the discovery of a number of small animal carcasses that had been drained of blood. In response to the reports, a group of young boys decided to hunt for the vampire and, armed with wooden stakes, set out to search for it. The hunt for the vampire became a local sensation, and attracted the attention of the media. In the autumn of 1954, police officer Alex Deeprose received a call to attend the Southern Necropolis Cemetery in Glasgow, where a large group of children, some armed with knives and makeshift weapons, were reportedly searching for a vampire with iron teeth that they claimed had abducted and killed two young boys from the local area. However, there were no reports of missing children in Glasgow at that time. The crowd was eventually dispersed, but they returned to the cemetery on subsequent nights. The fear and panic surrounding the Gorbals Vampire was mainly caused by word of mouth among children, who were already scared of cemeteries due to superstitions around death. This fear was further fueled by reports of strange noises coming from the Southern Necropolis, which only added to the mystery surrounding this figure. Tam Smith, one of the individuals who had participated in the search for the vampire as a child, commented that the Southern Necropolis Cemetery was an ideal setting for the vampire legend to emerge, with the noises and lights from the nearby ironworks creating eerie shadows across the graves of the roughly 250,000 individuals interred there. The reaction of adults to this myth was one of disbelief, yet they were still concerned about its effect on children. This concern was reflected in newspaper articles at the time, which warned parents to keep their children away from cemeteries and encouraged them to monitor their children's reading material more closely. It is now widely believed that the Gorbals Vampire was a hoax or urban legend that was created and perpetuated by the boys who were involved in the hunt. It was believed that the incident was influenced by the growing popularity of American comics in the area. However, these comics did not contain any references to a creature resembling the Gorbals Vampire described by the children. Despite this, the incident led to the implementation of the Children and Young Persons Harmful Publications Act 1955, which prohibited the sale of magazines and comics featuring repulsive or horrible content to minors. Comic books were a major factor in spreading this myth, as they were widely read by children at the time and provided them with a source of entertainment and information. In particular, American horror comic books were graphic. The stories published in them had a major influence on how this myth spread throughout Glasgow, as they provided children with an exciting narrative which fueled their imaginations. This gave them something to talk about amongst themselves, which further spread fear and panic throughout the city. Many American horror comic books featured blood and violence. The endings were not always happy. Many Americans were unhappy with this. In 1954, the book Seduction of the Innocent was published, calling for changing this. The American comic industry responded by voluntarily adopting the Comics Code Authority to tone their product. Following this scare, there was increased concern among adults about violent or frightening content being published in comics. This led to calls for tighter regulations on what could be published, eventually resulting in passing of the Children and Young Persons, Harmful Publications, Act 1955, which set out guidelines for acceptable content for young people. Despite it being quickly debunked as a hoax, this scare had a lasting impact on how people viewed comic books as well as how they viewed death and cemeteries. It also highlighted how quickly fear can spread through a community and how important it is for adults to take responsibility for monitoring their children's activities and reading material. The Gorbals Vampire scare is an example of how myths can quickly spread through communities and cause fear among its citizens. It is also an important reminder that adults must take responsibility for monitoring what their children are exposed to and take into account any potential risks when doing so. By understanding how panic can quickly arise from seemingly innocuous sources such as comic books, we can ensure that similar events do not happen again in the future.